All right, welcome, everybody. So glad to have you here in our Time to Tell the Truth series. We have just made a commitment to do this series and we are sticking to it. We're going to be disciplined to stay all the way through it to the finish line. So we hope that we share powerful information with you. Hopefully, it will be a blessing to you and to those that you are in contact with. For those that don't know who I am, my name is Dr. Rosalind Shop Belt. Everybody calls me Dr. Roz. I've been blessed to do a number of things. The scripture says, if you're faithful over a few things, he'll make you ruler over much. And that's what really has happened in my life. I kept saying yes to learning. So I learned to do a lot of things. But in this part, I'm talking about being a certified wellness coach. I'm not a medical doctor. I do have two doctorates, one's in theology and one's in divinity, but I am a certified entrepreneur and lifestyle consultant. And I also am a certified wellness coach with Akana. Today, we're going to talk about cancer. Now, I have even a personal reason for wanting to really talk about cancer at this phase because of so many things that are going on. But I want to focus on whether we're feeding the cancer or we're starving the cancer, but can we prevent cancer? Now, we know that there's no cure. They haven't found a cure, they say, for cancer. But I just kind of want to highlight it's running rampant. In Houston, Texas, we just had a very well-known congresswoman to pass away with pancreatic cancer. As I was doing the research and studying this, I discovered so many people that I did not know that died. Some I didn't even know they had died. And then some I didn't know they died of cancer. DJ Casper, remember the Casper slide? Shannon Daughtry, Aretha Franklin, O.J. Simpson died of prostate cancer. Walt Disney died of lung cancer. Dana Reeves, the wife of Superman, died of lung cancer. And she had never smoked. Watch that. Bob Marley died of skin cancer. Sherman Hemsley, remember the Jeffersons? Chadwick Boseman, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Count Basie, yeah. Joe Frazier, Farrah Fawcett, Donna Summers, the list goes on and on. Ed Sullivan, Alex Trebek, in Jeopardy, right? Alan Hale, I used to watch that, Mahal's Navy. And Lou Rawls, I love me some Lou Rawls, guys. Little Richard, Johnny Cochran, Steve Jobs, Sammy Davis Jr., Richard Roundtree, Walter Payton, world famous football player, Flip Wilson, come on now, Sarah Vaughan, Gregory Hines, Nat King Cole. I want put in the chat if there are some people here that you didn't even know either they were dead at all or you didn't know that they died of cancer. Drop that in the chat if one of those names kind of shocks you that they actually died of cancer. And let me see if any of you were on the same page that I was on as it relates to not recognizing that these were people in the spotlight that you didn't know that had actually died of cancer. Let me see what your response is to that. So let's talk about what is cancer. Let's break it down into its simplest terms, other than knowing it's a disease, the second leading cause of death. What is it?
What is cancer? Our bodies are made up of millions of cells. Inside each cell is an instruction manual called DNA, which has chapters we call genes. Genes tell the cells how to behave, when to make new cells, and when to die. When cells divide, they make a copy of their DNA and genes, so that each new cell has the same instructions. That copy also divides, and so on, while older or damaged cells are told to die off, making way for new healthy ones. Occasionally, the DNA instruction manual in a cell can get damaged or mutated. The cause of this mutation could be a chemical or environmental carcinogen. You might even have a hereditary risk for cancer. Other times, the cause is unknown. While healthy cells are trained to listen to signals for when to grow, divide, and die, cells with mutated DNA sometimes ignore your body's signals. These rogue cells continue to divide unchecked. This is how cancer starts. In some cases, the cancer stays put and is localized. In other cases, the cancer spreads or metastasizes. When they are metastatic, tumors consume the body's resources as they grow, damaging healthy, functioning tissues and organs along the way. When considering treatment options, your doctor may order genomic testing for your tumor. Genomic testing reads the instruction manual of cancer cells to identify the mutations that may be causing the cancer to grow. So what's next? Depending on the stage of your cancer, your doctor may use a standard method to initially treat your tumor, such as surgery to remove the tumor, radiation used in small doses to kill cancer cells in a precise area of your body, or chemotherapy to kill rapidly dividing cells throughout your body if the cancer is spread. Your doctor may also consider targeted therapy drugs, which are developed to precisely target the underlying DNA mutations causing your tumor to grow, and may be less toxic and more effective than chemotherapy. Or immunotherapy, which uses the power of your own immune system to attack cancer cells. Genomic testing can help your doctor choose the targeted therapy or immunotherapy option that is best suited for your specific cancer.
So the way I describe cancer to me is Pac-Man. Anybody ever played Pac-Man? And that's a negative Pac-Man that takes over. I'm gonna just bring it down to its simplest understanding. And that Pac-Man is our cells. And what she just described when she was explaining that is we learned in school, maybe you were asleep that day, but the cells divide and they split and they regenerate and then they die. But when that negative one takes over, that's like a Pac-Man just eating up everything else and eating up the tissues and eating up the organs. And there's a standard response to cancer. When you go to the doctor, the standard response is to cut on you, poison you, burn you, or melt you. Okay, can I make it any plainer than that? That's the standard response. And we make choices. We make choices in our lives based on what we decide to do. What my concern is that you ought to know all of your choices. Your only choices are not surgery, chemo, radiation, or targeted medication or targeted things to melt it. Because there's some results that take place from whatever choice you choose. I just believe you ought to know what, when you make a choice, what are going to be the results of that choice? Is it going to cause it to go completely? Because chemo doesn't do that. Chemo is a drug treatment that uses powerful chemicals to kill fast-growing cells in your body. That's why it works. That's why it helps so many people, because it does that. But it's strong. It's cytotoxic. So it means it's toxic to the cells because it has a poisonous effect on those body cells, which is why, again, it works and it kills the cancer cells in many cases. It does not distinguish between the good cells and the bad cells. That's why you have people that lose their hair and they lose their fingernails, because so many things happen to your blood cells, your skin cells, and your stomach cells, because the chemo drug that's designed to kill the cells doesn't determine if it's a good cell or bad cell. It just recognizes as a cell. And then the radiation therapy kills cancer cells or slows their growth by damaging their DNA. And again, I'm not speaking for or against any of these standard responses. I'm just saying, if you are an individual that has cancer or has been diagnosed with cancer, or you want to prevent yourself, which is where I'm really going to get into tonight, then you should have a choice of whatever you do, because radiation burn can happen to anyone who's receiving radiation therapy. But studies show radiation burn is most common for people who have it for breast cancer, for head and neck cancers, or cancers that develop on or near their skin, such as skin cancer and anal cancer. But here's the thing about this thing called cancer. We go to the doctor and we're diagnosed with it, but when did it happen? When did it start? See, cancer didn't happen overnight. This, we just are in the midst of the services for Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. And that didn't happen overnight, although we heard the announcement 30 days ago that she had pancreatic cancer. Now, I don't know. I didn't know her personally, so I don't know if that's when she got her diagnosis, but that's when it was made public. And she was at stage 4. And then in 30 days, she's gone. But do you understand that I need you to understand that cancer forms in the body over a course of time? And unfortunately, that's increasing.
Cancer.
We're going to cure cancer.
Cure for cancer.
The next frontier in the race to find a cure for cancer.
At this point, you probably know that we're not looking for a cure for cancer anymore.
Cancer is hundreds of diseases, so really we're in a multi-front war against all of them.
The war on cancer.
The new frontier in fighting cancer.
A new cancer vaccine.
It's considered one of the most promising fronts in the battle against cancer.
But nearly no improvement in others.
Cancer cases in people under 50 are rising dramatically.
What I didn't realize was that cancer is a problem for our generation in a way that it wasn't for previous ones further back. Look at this. In the US, our grandparents' grandparents died of all kinds of things. But slowly, we began to conquer the diseases that killed the most of us. And that's how, with developments in vaccines and sanitation and modern medicine, just plain living longer, we revealed cancer. It's the monster that was under the bed the whole time. Worse, it's the monster that was inside our bodies the whole time. Here's the stat that really got me. Half of all men and a third of all women in the US will be diagnosed with some form of cancer in their lives. Around the world, out of every 6 people who die, 1 of them dies of cancer. I don't say that to scare you. I say it because if you think this topic doesn't apply to you, specifically you, you're wrong. And me. There's an uncomfortably high chance that at some point in my life, I might get that call from a doctor. People I love already have. So the question is, what can we do about it?
So I noticed that a lot of you made comments regarding some of those people that you didn't even know they had cancer or they died of cancer. Now I want you to put in the chat as a tribute to that loved one. You don't have to say their name. You could just say my cousin, my nephew, my mother, my father, that has maybe passed away as a result of a cancer diagnosis and cancer. They had a battle with cancer and they've gone on now. As a tribute to them. Again, you don't have to say their name, but I want you to put in the chat, my mother, my father, my grandmother, my cousin. Let's just as a tribute to them, because the lack of knowledge is destroying us. And so if they had known some of the things I'm about to share with you today, they would still be here possibly with us. So I see some say a cousin, she was 33. Oh my goodness. See, so that actually solidifies the point that she just made, that it's happening younger and younger. So I'm gonna give you some facts, and I hope this won't bore anybody, but I need to give you facts before I give you solutions. See, those people of color, like myself, tend to get a later stage diagnosis. There's something wrong with that picture. People of color are more likely than their white counterparts to be uninsured. We're looking at underlying social and economic inequalities, inequities, which drive cancer disparities. Overall, white and Black people have the highest rates of new cancers. White people have the highest rate of new female breast cancers, and followed by Black people. Black people have the highest rate of new prostate cancers, followed by white people. Rates of new lung and bronchus cancer were similar for white and Black. Black people have the highest rate for new colon and rectum cancers. And then we have Black people at the highest rate of cancer death. I don't like those facts, but I got to give them to you, because it's not slowing down, it's speeding up. And there's a reason it's speeding up. So these are facts. These are not facts from Dr. Roz. These are facts from places that I've done the research. The American Cancer Society is projecting that 2 million plus new cancer cases are projected in 2024. Hello, somebody, that's this year, for the first time ever. And of all the cancer deaths in people under 50, colorectal is now #1 in men, #2 in women. And I promise you, I'm going to share with you the reason why and what we can actually do about it. So this is not a gloom and gloom, despair, and agony on me, deep, dark depression, excessive misery. If it wasn't for bad luck, I couldn't have no luck at all. No. This is not that kind of party. I'm going to give you some good news. I'm going to share with you some things that if we would make some changes, but we got to know the facts. And we can't walk around saying, well, it can't happen to me, because it could. The World Health Organization, they're projecting that by 2050, guys, do you know that will be here before we know it? Over 35 million new cases are predicted by 2050. That's a 77% increase from the estimated 20 million in 2022. See, it's growing, and there's a reason that it's growing. The American Cancer Society said the same thing. An estimated 20 million cases in 2022 were newly diagnosed, and 9.7 million people died from the disease worldwide, and they're still yet estimating that it's increasing by 2050. So let's talk about carcinogens. Okay, so the bottom line is carcinogens are dangerous. They're dangerous chemicals that can damage our cells and our DNA. Because if you understood what we said at the beginning, what is cancer? Cancer is all about the DNA that's replicating inside the cell. It's bad DNA. It's the bad Pac-Man. It can feel impossible to avoid carcinogens in our day-to-day life, since you can find them everywhere. So when I begin to show you, it doesn't mean you can't, he's like, okay, well, do I go outside or do I eat anything? No, I'm going to show you, and hopefully you'll leave with a positive attitude that you can prevent or starve it and stop feeding it. Yesterday, it wasn't. Today, it is. Why? What do I mean by that? Well, see, there's some organizations like the International Agency Research on Cancer, the World Health Organization, the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, the National Toxicology Program, and the ECHA. Do you know what these organizations are responsible for? They're responsible for letting us know that something is carcinogenic. They're supposed to let us know that something or a food that we eat or something that we use in our lifestyle can possibly lead us to cancer. But here's the thing. Why is it that you can find out something that was fine yesterday, but today it's not? Because it takes them time to figure this out. See, they have certain criteria. They go through epidemiological studies to track and to analyze. See, that doesn't happen overnight. That happens over time. So they do animal studies. They kill animals, laboratory experiments on animals to find out if that particular thing they gave that animal will cause the animal to die, and it's carcinogenic. They have mechanistic studies where the scientists study. Do you hear these long time words? Study, experiments, track, analyze. They review scientific literature, and they do a comprehensive review because they're not going to put it out there until they are absolutely positively sure. So when people tell me something has not been written up by the World Health Organization or the Toxicology Program or the EPA, well, I'm trying to get you to understand how long it takes them. And if it takes cancer 10 years to grow, and it takes them 10 years to find out it will cause cancer, that's a lose-lose situation. So how many people have to die before we know that that particular thing will cause cancer? Well, I think we should wake up and smell the coffee. I think we should take care of our own health. I think we should do our own research and study, because there are a lot of substances that are out there in the world, and I'm not going to go through all these different substances. You can take a screenshot of it if you want to, or you can just Google cancer-causing substances in the environment. See, for a long time, we only thought that smoking cigarettes, that was it. Or maybe skin cancer. We heard about those things, but there are other things. Some of the air we breathe, the water we drink, the foods we eat, the materials we use to do things on our jobs. I mean, I'm just looking at a commercial telling people to call a certain number if you've ever worked at a company where there was asbestos, because now you can be a part of that lawsuit. What good is that if you're lying in your bed? What good is that if you are already dead, so now your family can take advantage of it? So we need to understand the facts, because we've been rocked by some news. The American Cancer Society has said it over and over again, but people are still going to the grocery store buying processed meat. Because I don't know, do we not believe it? We not believe it because of certain things that haven't been said, but this has already been diagnosed. This has been said to us what this does, and we'll get into that in just a minute. But I want to talk about now is, are we ignoring it? I believe because you're here, you want the facts, you want to begin to do your own research, you want to begin to be more aware and not just ignoring things that could possibly be causing cancer substances. Okay. Now, here we go. We're going to get into this. Don't shoot the messenger. I promise you. I know we love it. Listen, I'm a French fry connoisseur. I tell people all the time, my car would just drive to McDonald's without any steering by me. No, I did the steering. It was me that did it. Do you understand that when starchy foods are cooked at high temperatures, it forms a compound called acrylamide? And this happens during frying, baking, roasting, and toasting. So don't tell me, well, I just bake and roast everything. It's the fried starchy foods, especially that are high in this acrylamide. That includes the French fries, that includes the potato chips. Hello. And according to a review in 2018, it's carcinogenic in the studies they did with rats. I don't have to wait until they leave the rats and come to the humans for me to say I need to stop doing something, or I need to at least not eat the whole bag. Because you know how it is, no one can eat just one. That's what they tell us. Do you understand they're telling us no one can not prevent themselves from dying? Eating a lot of fried food increases your risk of type 2 diabetes and obesity, and these conditions promote oxidative stress and inflammation, further increasing your cancer risk. So yeah, I do want you to hear my voice the next time you go to the grocery store, the next time you drive up to the chicken shack, the next time you get your Pringles or your Ruffles or your Lay's. I really do want you to hear my voice or sitting on your shoulder saying, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Overcooked foods. We live in a culture of overcooking our foods, especially our meats. I came up in a household that ate everything well done. You know what medium rare or all those different rares that you can lead up to well done. I didn't know anything about that. I didn't know that my family was cooking out. Even if you're eating something nutritious, you're cooking out everything. My father used to have a pork chop, and by the time you heat it up the second time, you could throw it up against the wall because it was well done the first time. That includes grilling, that includes barbecuing, that includes pan frying. I was listening a few years ago to one of our medical doctors on the advisory board talking about grilling and the charcoal that's coming up through the meat. And now you're getting that charcoal inside your gut. And how many of us love our barbecue? Shoot the messenger. But there's a way to reduce those risks of the carcinogens from high heat to use other cooking methods. Other cooking methods like poaching, like pressure cooking, like baking or roasting at lower temperatures. And listen, guys, I know we're in a rush, we're in a hurry, but there's a reason that our ancestors didn't have all the stuff we had, because they did that thing called slow cooking. They put it on in the morning and wait for it to be done in the evening. But we got other things, other tools, crock pots and slow cookers to help us with that. And let's not talk about dairy. Oh my God. We love our milk, we love our cheese, we love our yogurt. We talked about this when we talked about blood pressure, how milk does not do the body good. But do you know that there's some evidence that dairy may increase the risk of prostate cancer? According to a 2020 review, eating dairy, and it comes in so many different forms, don't just talk about milk. It's in your cheese, it's in your yogurt. There's an associated with a higher risk of prostate cancer. See, there's something in that dairy that may increase the proliferation or production of prostate cancer cells. Although they say the evidence is not consistent, but have I proven my point that we're not going to rest on the fact that they say it's not consistent until 10 years later, then they say it is consistent, and okay, you're not here anymore. Sugar. Refined carbohydrates, yes, can indirectly increase the chances of cancer. Oh my goodness. Listen, guys, I hope that you're getting this. I hope that you're receiving this, because sugar sweetened beverages, yes, we love it. And I say this all the time. When I was coming up, you get the can of Coke, 12 ounce. Now, where's the 12-ounce can? If you can find one, and you can't find it in every brand, it's at the very tip top of the shelf. Because now it's the 16-ounce, and then it's the 20-ounce. They put that on sale so you can get 2 of them. All of our baked goods, the white pasta, the white bread, the white rice, the sugary cereals. Goodness, Lord have mercy, I love the Frosted Flakes. Eating a high concentration of those sugary, starchy foods, and we're giving it to our kids, which is why they are destined to not last as long as you. If you're a baby boomer, they're destined to have colon cancer way before, because we're starting them out earlier with all this stuff. And this can increase your risk of various kinds of cancers: ovarian, breast cancer, endometrial cancer. A high intake of sugar. Sugar is the devil to cancer. I mean, he just loves it. Just loves, feeds off of it. You're going to see that in a few minutes. So what do? Make some changes. Make some changes. Modify. Decrease. Moderation. Lower it. Don't eat the whole thing. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Get some whole grain bread. Ask God to tell your taste buds to like it, because I want you here. Whole grain pasta, brown rice, oats. Listen, you can make these things taste good. We've just been programmed a certain kind of way. It's got to be white rice. That's the only rice I like. Sunlight. Now, how in the world can the sun, the thing that God made, be detrimental to us? Well, when you lay it all day long and you're talking about getting that tan, yeah, but now you look at your skin and it's two-tone, and you've done that year after year and month after month and weekend after weekend. See, it's not what you do some of the time, it's what you do most of the time. So those ultraviolet rays, the sunlight, you can't avoid them. You got to walk out in them, but too much exposure increases skin cancer risk. And when you're young and you're just trying to get that smooth tan, you're not thinking about what this is causing. I need every one of us to have a wake-up call. Put on a protection, put on some hats and some protective covering, get you some sunscreen, but be careful even about the sunscreen. That sunscreen needs to be mineral-based, containing zinc oxide and titanium dioxide, not oxybenzone or retinol palmitate. I don't know if I can pronounce all these words. All I'm saying is read the labels, because some of these things, even in our sunscreen, is carcinogenic to humans. And avoid the hottest time where the sun is out, in the midday. My husband and I, on a regular basis, go out to Galveston, which is 45 minutes from where I live, and we watch the sun come up. But I'm gonna tell you, by the time it gets up, we're gone from there. So we're not there during the hottest portion of the day. And here is the culprit: processed meat. You know, I really believe if we could conquer this one right here, we could get a whole lot of victories in our lives as it relates to cancer, as it relates to blood pressure, as it relates to diabetes, because this is the culprit right here. Processed meat. Processed meat is any type of meat that's been preserved by smoking, salting, curing, or canning. That covers a whole lot, doesn't it? Most of the processed meats are red meats. I mean, and they put a dye on it to make it look like it's still fresh, but you don't know when it was killed. See, your grandparents, they raised the cows and the chickens and the pigs, and they would cut them up and kill them and take their heads off and put them in the smokehouse, and they had a limited amount of time that they had to be able to eat those things, because they didn't have all the luxuries of the mechanics and refrigeration and things that we have today. So we can keep it a long time. See, the longer we keep it, because it has a time limit on it. So we got to understand that that's leading us down the road to cancer. So avoid them. Avoid the processed meats. Decrease your portion size. Replace the deli meats with alternatives like fish or tofu. But stay away from the hot dog, salami, sausage, ham, corned beef, beef jerky. Oh, listen, everything in that whole section. Y'all know what section I'm talking about. Don't be playing. Y'all know.
Did you know that processed meats like bacon, hot dogs, things of that nature, processed meats, they are considered a level 1 carcinogen? That's by the governing body that determines what is and what isn't cancerous. That means that it's in the same category with cigarettes, plutonium, and asbestos. You're never going to see a commercial or even see a warning label on those type of food. Pesticides are another issue because if you're eating processed food, you're eating pesticides. So with women, the issue becomes estrogen dominance in the body. Issue you're gonna have is breast cancer, uterine cancer, fibroids, PCOS, a lot of issues around having a very painful, longer menstrual cycle, which most women are having. And this is really key. You're gonna start to see young girls have earlier menses. So now we're seeing young girls, we're having a menses at 9.
What?
Whereas if you go back to like the 1800s, it was like 14, 16, they would have their first period. The earlier your menses is, it increases your risk for breast cancer. It increases your risk for all reproductive cancers for women. The more estrogen you have in your body, it causes the woman to become androgenized. What that means is it will make her more masculine. Just think about that for a second. We're seeing men become more feminine, seeing women become more masculine. And all of this ties back to food.
Now, he said something that's really powerful, labels. If you saw a label on your bologna or your salami or your ham, your deli ham or your deli turkey, because you think you're doing good because you did deli turkey, and that label said may be cancerous, may cause cancer, would you be as quick to grab it? See, they're not going to put a label on that saying that, even though they know it's cancerous, even though it's been listed in the list of things with cigarettes. But if they put a label on it, then you won't buy it. And if you don't buy it, they can't make any money. And if they can't destroy our health, then they can't benefit. Now, tobacco, that's obvious to most people. Cigarettes, although people still smoke, it's all around us, and it's the leading cause of cancer. And not only just you smoke it, but secondhand smoke. There's a risk from smoking it yourself, but that's secondhand smoke, and it's leading to lung cancer, throat cancer, esophageal cancer, colon cancer, bladder cancer. They said Walt Disney smoked all of the time. Even a bit of exposure increases your cancer risk, and people do that. They smoke in the car, got the kids in the back, sitting in their strollers and in the car seats and everything, and they're just smoking, filling up the whole car. Radon. Now, radon. Here's something I didn't know about radon. Radon is a silent, odorless gas, naturally produced in rocks and soil. And a lot of times our homes are built in certain places where we don't even know what's underneath the soil. But it makes its way into the water and the air of enclosed spaces without good ventilation, like basements. And it increases the risk of lung cancer. The only way you know if you have elevated radon levels is to test those levels. And if your level is elevated, you can then take steps to mitigate it, such as by improving your airflow and your ventilation. But I want you to understand this is definitely a source that we need to be aware of. Air pollution. God knows we know about air pollution. I live in the city where there are chemical plants not far from me, and you can see things in the sky, some things you can't see in the sky. We were just sharing with people just the other day, they're putting in new fiber networks in our neighborhoods, and all of a sudden we're smelling gas in our houses. Polluted air, exhaust from vehicles. Now you can't do anybody about their car because you know they got a putt and it's sending out black smoke. But understand that you can do some things, wear a mask, get away from it, whatever, by any means necessary, try to avoid the exposure for too long. Yeah, just for half a second you're in traffic, that ain't gonna get it. But when that's happening all the time, if you cannot avoid air pollution or levels around you are high, then you wear a mask, use an air filter, and to help remove some of the particles from the air that you breathe. That's why some people have humidifiers in their home, just to clean up the atmosphere. This is called bisphenol A, BPA. Now this is going to really get you because this is a chemical found in products, water bottles, canned foods. And that's why I wanted to show you, you said, but we've been eating canned foods all my life. We've been using water bottles all my life. But then at some point they determine that the BPA is cancerous. So now if you see a label that says BPA free, what does that tell you? That tells you, oh, it used to have BPA, duh. Okay, so now they are letting us know 10 years down, 30 years down, 40, 50, how many people, I'm gonna say it again, I showed you, how many people have to die? How many people have died because they didn't know that using that plastic bottle over and over and over and over again, put it back in the refrigerator, use it again, the cans, the lids of the cans, okay, but now they say BPA free, so it's okay, right? That's why we don't eat the cans, the boxes, the bags, or anything, okay? Alcohol, yeah. Don't shoot the messenger. Alcohol is in many products, from the alcoholic drinks to the mouthwash to our medications. And again, I'm not talking about what you do some of the time. I'm talking about what we do most of the time. And some of those people that you saw on that list earlier, some of those movie stars and those singers were known to be alcoholics and known to be smokers, liver cancer, breast cancer, esophageal cancer. And it's thought to be due to the chemicals from the alcohol, because the damage alcohol causes the DNA to get messed up. And remember I said the little Pac-Man? Once the DNA messed up, then it starts growing and multiplying, and all of a sudden it metastasizes. So to limit this, then avoid drinking more than the recommended amount. Yes, there is a recommended amount, which is 1 drink per day for women and 2 for men. And I've done some other studies that said if you're over 50, 1 for men. Okay? So see, do you understand? It didn't say you couldn't have a drink. It just says you got to minimize it. Formaldehyde. Formaldehyde it's in our household items, the wood products, the glues, the paints, the soaps, the hair dye. Now, granted, a lot of these now, if you look at the labels, and that's why I want you to look at the labels, will tell you they're anti-formaldehyde. And I just need you to think. If it says anti, and then the next one next to it doesn't say anti, which one are you going to choose? Because there's a reason one says anti. See, it's also produced while using gas stoves. You can check on the formaldehyde level of products before putting new furniture or products in your homes. Some indoor plants can help lower levels. It's also important to make sure you have ventilation, including turning on the fan when cooking on a gas stove. So as we begin to look at these labels and be more cognizant of what's taking place, when they put anti something or non something, it's because now they're letting us know that that particular thing was carcinogenic. Polychlorinated biphenyls, PCBs is what the really word that they use. They're man-made chemicals that are used in electrical equipment. They're also in the soil and the water. They're also feeding the pigs and the cows with it. And listen, whatever they feed them with goes in us. You can avoid it by avoiding any contaminated foods. And I'm sorry, everything on that shelf got some PCB in it. All that red meat, the whole section, that whole section of processed meats, it's contaminated with PCB because they want to keep it on the shelf. They want it to last. They got an expiration date, but that expiration date is long past when we should actually be eating it. And am I telling you you've got to be a vegan or a vegetarian? I am not. I am not promoting that. If that's what you want to do, that's your choice. If you become a plant-based eater, that's your choice. But I need you to make a choice. I need you to stop going to the grocery store in ignorance. Because DNA, I know you told me your grandmama had a heart attack, your mama had a heart attack, your great-great-grandmama had cancer, so cancer runs in your bloodline. Well, I'm here to tell you tonight, DNA is not your destiny.
The food swamp is flooding our neighborhoods with calories. That's really the swamp. It's a swamp of nutrient poor, calorie dense, low cost foods in areas where people don't make a lot of money. So you go into poor neighborhoods and there's no grocery store, no real grocery store that's clean and produce is fresh and it's replaced on a very regular basis. Everything we eat, every time we eat, is an investment in our longevity, in our health. It either is making you healthier or it's making you sicker.
African Americans globally, specifically in the United States, have this sense that my mom had it, my dad had it. I'm not going to live to a certain age. I'm going to get diabetes. I'm going to have a stroke. I'm going to have it. And so it's destiny. And what I want folks to know is that it's not destiny. Your DNA is not your destiny.
Dr. Roz, we can't hear you.
All right, so thank you so much. So I don't think you heard me say what I wanted you to do into the chat. So let me go back. I said your DNA is not your destiny. I want you to put that in the chat. My DNA is not my destiny. My DNA is not my destiny. I need you to proclaim that. I need you to prophetically speak that into your life, prophetically speak that into your family's life, that your DNA is not your destiny. And as you're doing that, let's get into the risk factors. Because a lot of times we're doing things. So maybe you've gone to the doctor and they see something, they see a tumor, and they're saying it's cancerous. You may be that person, or maybe you've been in that place. Well, I need you to understand, I told you what the standard choices are: chemo, radiation, surgery, burning it, all of that. But there's some other choices. And sometimes we don't even know we're doing things that's controversial to what we really want to happen. You don't want to die of cancer. You don't want the cancerous cells to continue to grow. You want them to go in the opposite direction. But they're not necessarily saying that there's something you can do. Well, let me tell you something. The African-American diet feeds cancer. Yes, the animal fat, the sugar, the processed foods, fried, dyed, laid to the side, barbecue, overcooked, ultra-processed. Come on now. Y'all see this, the chitlins, the banana pudding, the oxtails, all the fat meat, the fat back, the pig's feet. Lord have mercy, the macaroni and cheese, fried chicken, the church's menu. That right there is the church's menu. Fried chicken, green beans and rice with a roll sitting on top. and the mashed potatoes, I'm telling you. So all of this, the cornbread that's added with sugar, not just cornbread, sweet cornbread, peach cobbler. My husband loves it. But all of this feeds cancer. So if you've been diagnosed with cancer, here's the place to start. Another place you can start is getting up. Get up off the couch. Get up off the couch and move. See, we're on the go, but we're not on the move. Somebody said, well, I was just walking on my job today. I went from one office to the next office. No, that's not the kind of movement we're talking about. I need some sweat to happen on your brow. I need your heart rate to increase. I remember my great-grandmother talking about how they walked to school and how far they had to walk to school. We ain't trying to walk no more. We're trying to find the closest parking spot, because we don't have to walk far. We should park way at the back somewhere and at least walk from that back parking spot to get to the grocery store. But now we get in the car, we sit in the traffic, we drive home, we sit on the couch 5 days a week. We got our remotes, we got our video games, we got our computers, and those lifestyles are feeding the cancer. Alcohol, I gotta say it again, it feeds the cancer. The amount that they're telling us that's available that should be okay is once a day. How many of you ever gone, okay, I'm talking to drinkers now, you go to happy hour, do you have just one? And then some people go to happy hour every day. Happy hour before they get home, happy hour, having a happy hour. You go out with your friends, you're toasting. Come on, brothers, well, not just brothers, but women too. Drink the whole 6-pack, not just one. I'm just saying, it's feeding the cancer. Age, yes, our chronological age. But when we learn that we can do something and increase and reverse our biological age, and all these things we're talking about will help to decrease our biological age, then all of a sudden, no matter what age you are, I've seen 90-year-old people walking on treadmills. There are centenarians in other places in the country that are in these blue zones that are they're thriving, and they're over 100 years old. Why not you? Obesity. We've had people that were stars and they'll just settle for because they look a certain kind of way. And when you look at yourself in the mirror, if you're not satisfied with yourself, you're the one can make a change. Because 75% of the population is overweight or obese, causing breast, prostate, and colon cancer. So we've got to recognize what the statistics say, and when the stomach is out there, don't fool yourself. That's obesity, because that's not supposed to be our makeup. We say, well, as long as you're healthy, no. As long as you know that you're not being healthy when your stomach laps over your belt, when it has rolls, that's not healthy. Accept the fact that you can do something about it. And we have a history of IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, people that have colitis and diabetes, blood sugar after the affects that cancer. Do you know that statistics say the average American consumes 152 pounds of sugar in 1 year? Oh my God, that's a lot of sugar. Because we're doing it with and 135 pounds of starch or white flour per year. Yeah, it's in our hot dogs, it's in our hamburgers, it's in the buns, it's in the bread. We're using the white flour. If it's white, it's not right. Sugar feeds cancer. If you're diagnosed with cancer, any form of it, listen, get the sugar out your life. And sugar doesn't mean just eating the white sugar. It's the high fructose corn syrup. Look at the label. When you see it on there, put it back on the shelf. Put it back on the shelf. And that means stay out of the middle of the grocery store, because everything in a box, in a can, in a bag, or in a jar has something to cause it to be there on that shelf for a long time. I know sugar is the primary fuel for our body. And that's why fruit, see, the difference, people say, well, I can't eat fruit because I'm a diabetic. But see, fruit releases sugar slowly. But high fructose corn syrup releases it quickly and feeds the cancer.
Sugar feeds cancer. And we know this because when somebody gets cancer, we'll do a PET scan. And a PET scan is like taking a cube of sugar and putting radiation dye on it. And when they inject that into the body and it goes out into the blood and goes all over the body, the tissue that is highlighted, that is eating the most sugar, is the cancerous tissue. Because cancerous cells or tumors, they love sugar even more than our own body. And so it tells you what sugar is doing to us.
Oh my goodness. Let's stop. Now, this section is called Believe It or Not, okay? Because we live in a microwave society. We want everything fast. I just talked about slow cooking. None of us want to slow cook. We don't have that much time. But I'm telling you, if you want to live a long time, we all have a day that God has ordained for us to check out of here, but we can live our life in a healthy way, a fruitful way. I want to live to be over 100 years old, but I don't want you pushing me in a wheelchair. So I am starting to decrease. I have a microwave in my house, but now I used to stick everything in there to rewarm it. Now I'm taking the time to turn the oven back on or put it in the air fryer. Why?
Now, the type of radiation that you're getting with microwaves is non-ionizing radiation. It's still radiation, but it's, of course, not as dangerous as getting a CAT scan or X-rays. But it's still giving you radiation, which can create some problems. Now, there are some long-term studies that do show that using the microwave may give you a cancer-causing effect in laboratory animals, especially rats. So if you are going to feed your pet rats, definitely do not use the microwave. And they can produce cataracts. And one of the big questions that people want to know is that if I use my microwave, is that going to lower my nutrients compared to other types of cooking? And the answer is absolutely yes. It can reduce your nutrients from 5 to 40% or more, depending on how long you cook the food in the microwave. I mean, just by using the microwave for 60 seconds, you can inactivate key phytonutrients from 96 to 100%, versus steaming, which is only 11%. Using the microwave can also increase the glucose and insulin response. It can increase more free radicals. It can also oxidize cholesterol, which is another big problem. And on top of that, if you're cooking food in a plastic container, you could potentially release up to 44 different chemicals, including benzene. So my recommendation is this: if you're going to use the microwave, don't use it on a regular basis. And secondly, try to use it for the minimum amount of time. So if you have something you're going to cook that takes a long period of time, let's say 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 minutes, use your stove. And lastly, and most importantly, I would not cook in plastic. I would use either glass or some type of material that you're not going to leach out chemicals. All right, thanks for watching.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. Thanks for telling us, right? Some of us, we're ready. Are you ready to take your microwave and throw it out the door? But you heard what he said. Do you know where the 30-second button is? The 1 minute button. Let's deal with that. 30 seconds and 1 minute. That's it. None of those microwave meals, that take hours to do in the microwave. I have an aunt, she would never use her microwave because she said, I don't know, it's something about those waves. And I didn't even realize what she was saying. And she knew, she understood. Believe it or not. This is the believe it or not section. Yep, you see it. Cell phones. Cell phones haven't been around forever. So they're not trying to tell us the cell phones are going to cause cancer effects in our lives. They're not trying to say that really because it hasn't been proven yet. But I think I've tried to show you how long it takes for them to prove it.
An important new alert about the safety of cell phones and the possible risk of cancer, brain cancer in particular. It comes from the World Health Organization, the powerful health arm of the United Nations, and scientists from 14 countries have reversed those years of reassurance. After a new review of all the evidence, the scientists decided to put cell phones in the same risk category as chloroform, exhaust from gas engines, and the pesticide DDT. So what has changed? How strong is the evidence? Our Jim Sciutto has spent the entire day questioning the experts. He's here now. Jim.
Well, Diane, this is a first, and it's a big reversal for the WHO, which had insisted there is no evidence of a link between cell phones and cancer. Now it says it has found that evidence, and while it's still collecting data, felt it was necessary to issue this warning now.
This is your brain with a cell phone turned off, and this is your brain with a cell phone turned on. Notice the red areas at the top. Studies had already established that radiation from cell phones increases brain activity. Today, for the first time, the WHO concluded that low-level radiation from cell phones could possibly cause cancer. A 2010 study they examined showed participants who used cell phones for more than 10 years had double the rate of a rare type of brain tumor called a glioma. Placing cell phones in the same category as lead and engine exhaust, the director of the WHO's cancer research arm said in a statement, "Given the potential consequences for public health, it is important to take pragmatic measures to reduce exposure." A small but growing group of scientists say that since the cancers involved take years, even decades to develop, there is a need to act now.
A lot more research needs to be done, but science is very slow on these matters. It took decades to move from cigarettes may cause harm to cigarettes actually cause harm.
Today, CTIA, the group representing the wireless industry, noted the WHO did not conduct any new research, adding, in the past it's given the same score to pickled vegetables and coffee. Ellie Marks blames her husband's brain cancer on 20 years of cell phone use, noting his tumor grew on the side of his head where he held his cell phone.
Do you wish a warning like this had come out years ago? Oh, absolutely. Had he known, he never would have held it directly to his head, and he wouldn't be dying from brain cancer.
No group is recommending we stop using cell phones, but some, such as the American Cancer Society, say those who want to change should consider using headsets or the speakerphone option. We noticed that even some cell phone companies recommend keeping phones at a distance from the body. For the iPhone, 5/8 of an inch. For the BlackBerry, a full inch.
We polled dozens of brain specialists around the country to see if they take any precautions themselves, and of 92 who answered, Diane, about a third of them, 27, said they already use earpieces to protect themselves.
Now, have anybody seen that fine print when you got your cell phone, your iPhone, that told you to hold it so many feet, so many inches away from your ear? I don't think so. Folks got up there, now they got the pods in their ears all of the time, even when they're not on the telephone. So we need to eliminate certain things. Now, I really want to address this for those of you that maybe have been diagnosed, or maybe you know someone who's been diagnosed. There are some things that you can start to eliminate outside of it. You can marry the chemoradiation surgery and all of that with all of these things we're talking about. I'm never saying for you to make the choice not to do it, because many of your doctors are not going to tell you this part. They're only going to say to you chemo, radiation, and surgery for the most part. Not all doctors. I'm not throwing them all under the bus, but so many of them. But when there's a marriage between holistic treatments, then you can do both. And if you choose to do both, or some people make that decision to do like what this lady's going to talk.
Cancer loves acid. Cancer also loves no oxygen. The other thing cancer loves is sugar. So knowing those things, it makes a lot of sense to alkalize the tissues. And so when people come to us wanting help to conquer cancer, you see what we do? We suggest a diet that's highly alkalizing. We suggest ways to oxygenate the body, and we also greatly eliminate the glucose, the sugars going into the body. Everyone wants a quick fix. Sorry, there aren't any.
She said, this is in Australia, where she has this wellness center, and they have had wonderful, wonderful testimonies just by showing people the importance of their pH.
Maintaining the body's pH balance, particularly keeping blood slightly alkaline, pH 7.35 to 7.45, is crucial for optimal immune function and protection against diseases like cancer. A balanced pH supports enzyme function, cellular integrity, microbial control, inflammation regulation, nutrient absorption, and detoxification. Diet plays a supportive role in this balance. Consuming more alkaline-forming foods while moderating acid-forming foods helps maintain a healthy pH. This dietary approach can enhance the body's natural defense mechanisms, contributing to overall health and disease prevention.
So now, as we get through the end of this, you're going to hear me repeat myself of some things I've already said, because now we need to know, what are those alkaline foods? What foods do I need to increase in my body to keep my pH in an alkaline state? Because cancer cannot thrive in an alkaline environment, but it thrives in an acidic environment. Matter of fact, disease, all disease, whether it's diabetes, whether it's blood pressure, whether it's lupus, whether it's fibromyalgia, whatever it is that you have, that disease cannot thrive in an alkaline environment. So then I need to know, what are the foods that are alkaline? Lemons. Haven't you heard about that? Haven't you heard you could drop lemon in your water? Yeah, you should have some lemon water. Drink some lemon, sip on some hot lemon water, because it has alkaline minerals, sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, and iron in the lemon. Another alkaline is dark green leafy vegetables. I know you've heard this before, but I'm trying to push it down your throat right now, because we should eat every day something dark, green, and leafy. And it doesn't cost a lot of money to do this. See, people say all the time, okay, I eat healthy because it costs too much. No, 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 no. It does not cost that much. Your sickness is what's costing that much. So get some kale, some parsley, some collard greens, not with all the fat back, I'm just saying, the spinach, super greens. Every day, let's eat something daily. Somebody put in the chat, I'm going to do better. This is one area I want you to do better. I want you to do better in the one I just talked about. But I really want you to start doing this. Vegetables, vegetables. And some vegetables are a little more acidic, so it depends on how your body operates. But the tomato, the bell pepper, eggplant, celery, potato, just a few things that I'm naming, but check out the thing about tomatoes.
When you cook the tomato with an oil, and I think you'll agree with me, olive oil and tomatoes go very nice. They almost hand in hand together. When it's cooked with an oil, it releases a plant chemical called lycopene. Lycopene is from the fat-soluble family, and that's another reason why we should be eating a little oil with our meals, because it helps release the fat-soluble vitamins. Lycopene is a potent antioxidant, and it has the ability to reduce the inflammation of the prostate gland, so that's good news, isn't it? So every man over the age of 40 should be having a cooked tomato and olive oil dish maybe 3 or 4 times a week. That's not hard.
Yeah, I'm gonna start fixing some kind of tomato for my husband. I know we're blood type O, and I think it's against our blood type, but I'm probably gonna put some oil and cook him some tomatoes. Legumes, lima beans, lentils, soy, chickpeas. All of these are legumes that are high in alkaline content. Magnesium, calcium, potassium that help neutralize the acids in your body. While those cancer cells are trying to grow, come on, add this to your diet. Force those cancer cells to say, go away. You see that commercial where it's a spray and it's afraid that the spray is coming? That's the same way those cancer cells are going to be when you start adding more alkaline foods to your diet. And when you go back to the doctor will be saying, what? Where'd it go? Grains, millet, all these different whole grains that are associated with a lower risk of cancer, according to a 2020 review. Quinoa, brown rice. These are things that are rich in fiber and antioxidants. And I promise you, your taste buds can develop a taste for it if you will allow it to take place. Nuts. Now, don't overdo the nuts, okay? Because you can gain weight by eating too many nuts. But go ahead, have some nuts as a snack so you won't stop at places where you shouldn't snack. I'm talking to myself now, right? Almond nuts, Brazil nuts, walnuts. They give amino acids, protein, selenium. Brazil nuts are very high in selenium.
Walnuts. Eating walnuts can potentially inhibit cancer cell growth and induce death of cancer cells.
Wow, amazing. If you knew that, wouldn't you have more walnuts in your life? If you knew that, wouldn't you make your own trail mix? Yeah, you don't have to buy one already pre-made because it's in a package, remember? They're keeping it on the shelf for a long time. Just buy your own individuals and make your own trail mix with the nuts that you love the most. And the seeds.
Flaxseed. Flax seeds contain lignans, compounds that have been shown to possess anti-cancer properties by interfering with hormone-related cancers, such as breast and prostate cancer.
So I need the flax seeds, pumpkin seeds, chia seeds, hemp seeds, walnuts. All of these seeds have magnesium, calcium, and potassium to neutralize the acids in your body that the cancer is feeding on.
Garlic. Garlic contains sulfur compounds such as allicin and quercetin, inhibiting tumor growth, inducing cell death, and preventing the formation of new blood vessels and tumors.
Anybody else going to do better? Come on, put it in the chat. I'm going to do better. Onions.
Onions. Onions contain similar nutrients to garlic and have been shown to be effective in killing cancer cells.
So sometimes we're asked, then should I eat a 100% alkaline diet? So if a person is already diagnosed with cancer, they're battling with cancer, should they go completely alkaline?
To maintain the 6.5 environment, we need to be consuming 20% acid-forming foods and 80%, 70 to 80% alkaline-forming foods. And I'm sure you're not surprised to hear me say that the 20% should come from this section here.
So 80% of foods you consume should be alkaline-forming food. The rest can be acid-forming foods that are whole grain, legume, and nuts which have healthy nutritional value.
Now, doesn't that give you a little leeway, right? See, I'm not trying to be hard-nosed here. 80-20, your plate should be 80-20, 80% alkaline, 20%, okay, go on and work with that other stuff. But let's fight. So now let's talk about cancer-fighting foods. And you're going to hear repetitive stuff. You're going to hear me say something I've already said before because I've said it, that it was alkaline, or we said that it was something that we need to add to our diet. We should have berries, guys. Berries are loaded with antioxidants. They fight oxidation and free radicals that cause cancer. They've got prebiotic fiber. They feed the good bacteria. Berries, 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 berries. Whatever berries you like, load yourself up with berries. Fruits and vegetables. I know you know this, but let's do it. Because this is helping us prevent it and fight against cancer. They say there's a fight on cancer, but they're talking about medically. They're talking about finding a pill, finding a compound. When we got the things that God made, these compounds can help protect your cells from oxidative stress and DNA. The antioxidants that are in broccoli.
Broccoli contains a phytochemical called sulforaphane, which is a potent compound that can prevent and kill cancer cells through a variety of mechanisms. Parsley. Parsley is rich in apigenin, a flavonoid that's been associated with a decreased risk of several types of cancers, including breast, prostate, and colorectal cancer.
Now, how many people have told you that you need more fruits and vegetables in your life, period? Even if you're not fighting cancer, but I want you to understand why. What is in this? See, if I understand why and what's in it, maybe I'll eat more of it. Fish, omega-3s. They offer healthy fats, omega-3 fatty acids from fish, and it may lower the risk of cancer by reducing the inflammation. And we're talking about some of the things. You say, I don't like all of them, but whatever ones you like, find the ones you like. I always say, pray for God to help you like the other stuff, because I'm not trying to be sick. The salmon, the mackerel, the sardines. I had that the other day, some sardines and eggs for breakfast. Hadn't had that in 30, 40 years, but it was pretty doggone good. Herring, trout, come on. Add the omega-3s into your life. Now, let's talk about fighting soursop. Now, I just recently learned about this from Dr. Bobby Price, one of the persons that I've been following and learning so many wonderful things. And you saw some of his videos that I played early. He has a farm, a tropical farm, where he sells soursop, but you can also get it as a tea. This plant, this fruit has been known to fight cancer. It strengthens the immune system. It improves the mood, stress, and anxiety. It maintains the hydration in the body because it has about 82 grams of water in the actual fruit. Helps to maintain eye health, used to fight bacteria. It helps to stabilize blood pressure. Used in combating constipation. It helps fight inflammation. Used in preventing diabetes, and it has anti-carcinogenic effects. It is said to be 10 times more potent than chemotherapy. So many testimonies. I dare you to research soursop. Matter of fact, our Dr. Eric Prince, when he has a person that is battling with cancer, this is part of the regimen that he gives them in powder form. Soursop is included in that, in addition to our detox tea and vitamin D. Just recently, we had a big meeting with Dr. Thomas, and he was an advocate of making sure that we all have vitamin D in our lives. Maybe you can't get out in the sun, but you find ways to get vitamin D, because what does it do? As it relates to cancer, it helps to risk the disease. It improves your brain function and prevents certain types of cancer, along with so many other things. And we've got another cancer-fighting food is no food. Yeah, you heard me right. Not eating, intermittent fasting, or fasting. You know, sometimes we do it once a year with our churches where we do the Daniel fast, but this is intermittent fasting, and it's various ways to do it. You get started where you are. There's a 16-8, a 14-10, where you fast for 16 hours and you eat 8 hours. Everything you do it in 8 hours. That's when you've gotten mature in this intermittent fasting. And then 14-10, that's another way, 14 on and 10 hours off. But if you're just getting started and you've never done it, then do the 12-12 and get started. Let your body start, let your brain start realizing how this works. And then you grow in it, and some people move into an alternate day, or sometimes they refer to that as a 4-3, where your fasting involves fasting every other day. That's the whole day. Then you got a 5-2. That's a difficult more one to do. You're a little more flexible, but you're allowed to choose which days of the week you fast on. And then for the veterans that are in the room, the warrior diet. That involves eating minimally, usually raw fruits and vegetables during the day, and then eating one large meal at night within a 4-hour period. And then you got the eat, stop, eat. Involves fasting for 24 hours, 1 or 2 consecutive days. Now you got to be a bad mamma jamma, you know, you're used to fasting. And then the OMAD, well, that's the extreme method. That's a 23-hour fast followed by 1 hour eating. And I promise you, you can probably grow to that place where you're able to do any of these, but start where you can start. Just, you know, get in where you fit in. But just know that it's a cancer fighting to be able to not eat. And then bitters. Well, this thing about bitters, and I'm the first to tell you, I was not into the bitters because I didn't like anything that didn't taste good, but now I'm waking up. See, when you educate yourself more, you understand why you should do something. That's the kind of person I am. Tell me why. Don't just tell me to do it. Tell me why does it make sense. And the science that supports bitters is fascinating. It's an ancient secret, been doing it forever. Other cultures, they do it all the time. They say, if it's sweet, don't eat. If it's bitter, it's better. Because the bitters in your life, and that's a truth. In our mouth, in our tongue, in our stomach, in our gut, our liver, and our pancreas is craving for bitters, bitter taste, because of the herbs and the roots and the barks and the fruit, the seeds or the flowers. And it helps with your immune system. If you want to be void of having to deal with COVID in whatever form it comes, you need some bitters in your life. And we're fortunate here at Akana that we have bitters, and they have bitters in it. They have burdock root and dandelion and artichoke leaf and angelica root, yarrow, mugwort. See, all that stuff even just sounds bitter. The name of it sounds bitter, except for passion flower. It sounds like it ought to be something really good. But wormwood and gentian root, yeah, and it works. That's all I can say. It works. Medicinal mushroom. Recently just gotten introduced to mushrooms myself in my life, and they're loaded with beta-glucans that stimulate the immune system, enhance the immunity, adjuncts, therapy treatments, and promote a healthy microbiome. That's your gut. So these medicinal mushrooms. Now, if you're not a mushroom person, don't knock it till you try it. I promise you, the lion's mane is off the chain, and the oyster mushroom, which is not listed on this list right here, is fantastic. It'll replace some chicken wings if you want it to. The lion's mane will replace a steak, and the shiitake, oh my God.
Mushrooms. Research found that individuals who ate 18 grams of mushrooms per day had a 45% lower risk of cancer than those who did not eat mushrooms.
Yeah, so we need this, right? Cancer fighting. Fucordin. That's a seaweed. Now, that's not easy to find. You probably can find it in pill form or in other methods, but the original form is out of Japan, a brown seaweed. See, do you understand that these other cultures, they got it going on? We're the last ones to come on board because we want to make money from not being healthy. They will not make any money if you become healthy. Yep. If they just got you on chemo, radiation, and surgery, and then the cancer comes back and you go back and forth again, they can't make any money off of that. And even drinks, certain drinks that you can drink yourself, definitely juicing, but you want to lemon water, bitter herbs and teas, milk thistle tea, all of these things. I'm telling you, look them up, find out how to make them, try them out for yourself, because they are possible things to help prevent cancer.
Green tea.
And then lastly, I want to, definitely we want to exercise, right? Exercise, like some kind of exercise. Get up off the couch, whether you're going up the stairs, whether you cutting the grass, not in a sit down more. No, you got to push, okay? Raking the leaves, all kinds of ways you can get your exercise up. Pickleball, get your heart rate up. We got to do this to prevent. It's about cancer prevention. So don't let anybody tell you you can't prevent it, because you can make a decision not to do the SAD diet, SAD, the standard American diet, but try the plant-based, heart-healthy diet with your fats and your oils, your leafy greens. We've talked about all of this, which is a part of a plant-based, heart-healthy diet. And we talked about alcohol, the moderation, either none or just some, right? Moderation is that one drink per day. And listen, I'm not giving you any leeway for smoking. If you're a smoker, you need to stop. If you're a smoker, you've got to make a journey, because it is the #1 killer for for cancer, right? For lung cancer. So stop. You know you want to quit. We know that you can. You can, you can, you can. And then juicing. Juicing is cancer prevention. Because what does juicing do? Juicing puts the body in a rested state. See, even smoothies are good, great, but smoothies work the body because it's got to go through the stomach. Whereas when you're juicing, make the investment for a juicer in a rested state so we can use the energy that it would in breaking down the food in the belly and the gut to regenerate and repair the body. God made our bodies to heal itself. And fasting. We talked about fasting.
Let me first start with fasting is not starving yourself. Let me help you understand why. We've been able to show that when you stop eating, your body is still burning calories. Now you may be asking yourself, where is the calories coming from that is being burned? Well, most people think your body is eating away at the muscles, but the body is far more intelligent than we believe it is, and is too intelligent to actually eat the muscles before it could actually eat things that are stored specifically for the reason of, in the case where there becomes a famine where you don't have food. So we developed hundreds of thousands of years of developing this mechanism whereby we store nutrients in our bodies in the time where we don't have food.
Okay, so we got to fast, right? We need to have a strong immune system. Our immune system is what works, as we showed you at the very beginning of this. If we have a stronger immune system, the job of the immune system is to kill out the negative Pac-Man. But when the immune system is not optimum, it's not working at its optimum, the negative Pac-Man takes over and kills out everything else. So poor nutrition, lack of sleep, chronic stress, sedentary lifestyle, all the stuff we've gone over, I've got to repeat it, but it needs to be understood. That's what's hindering and causing our immune system to not operate at its optimum performance. So we must have a strong immune system. One of the things you can do, grow your own food. Grow your own food, whether you grow it outdoors, whether you grow it in a pot, whether you grow it in a box, whether you grow it up above ground, whether you grow it indoors using other means or methods. There's so many ways now to find out how to grow your own food. And that's where I want to stop, because I hope that by now you have understood. We just want to tell the truth. It's time to tell the truth. It's time to know the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So help us, God, right? And that way we'll understand that we have some other alternatives to be able to move ourselves to a place of not just finding that we're feeding cancer. We want to starve cancer, and we want to prevent cancer.